Chapter 6. Tea the following day was certainly interesting for Lacy. Even with all she'd heard about Jacqueline, having tea with the woman blew her mind just a bit. "Now, I know that you're in love with that young man of yours, and you are ready to commit as soon as he is," Jacqueline started, "but you're going to have to give him time to adjust to the idea of being in love again. That terrible woman he was married to before warped his mind pretty good. Do you think you can be patient?" She peeked at Lacy over the edge of a teacup that was decorated with tiny little fairies. "I'll try." "Good. The most important part of a relationship is making sure you understand the other person's needs. Your Irishman needs very different things than most men. Sure, he needs love and affection, but first he must believe in himself. I hope my talk with him yesterday will spur him on a bit and get him to follow the right path." Lacy raised an eyebrow. "And what is the right path?" "Marrying you quickly." "Not this week, of course. I know people on the ranch marry ridiculously fast for the most part, but you don't have to do that. Continue to talk to him after he leaves. Visit him in his new home. The fairies are insisting that it must happen. Your match is a special one." "Aren't all matches special?" Lacy was surprised Jacqueline would say one match was more special than another. "Well, of course they are. This one though, your Irishman will only be able to grow and do well if he starts to believe in himself, and that won't happen without you. The fairies see two paths for him, and the path of marrying you is the only one that doesn't end in his destruction." Jacqueline enunciated her point by waving a snickerdoodle in Lacy's face. For a second, Lacy almost leaned forward to take a bite of the cookie, but she didn't want to let the topic go. "Did you tell him that?" "I did not. He shouldn't marry you to avoid his own destruction. He should marry you because you're sweet and pretty and you make those cute little hair bows for little girls." Lacy couldn't help but laugh a little. "Why would he marry me because I make cute little hair bows?" she asked. "Well, because you're going to have daughters, of course. Haven't you figured out anything yet?" "And how many daughters will I have?" Jacqueline opened her mouth to answer, but then she closed it tightly, shaking her head. No one needs to know that much about their own future or anyone else's. She started picking up the remains from their tea. "You need to get back to work now. What are you thinking having a tea party on the reception desk? Wade would never approve." With that, Jacqueline left the hotel. For a minute, Lacy stared at the spot where Jacqueline had been. The woman was certifiable. There was no doubt. But it was also very clear she was genuinely trying to help Lacy and Colm work things through so they could be together for those children Jacqueline was certain they'd have together. Hours later, she was still confused as she chopped up some tomatoes to add to the tacos. She didn't eat tomatoes herself because she'd been allergic as a child and hadn't been able to force herself to acquire the taste, but she liked to offer things for others. Colm was the first to arrive, and he grated some cheese. "My brother used to look at cheese and yell, 'You're great,' but my mom was never very impressed with that." Lacy smiled. "I wouldn't have been either." She reached above her and pulled down some plates to set the table. "I hope you don't mind that I invited Brenda and her husband for supper." Lacy had been careful to remove all proof that there was a baby shower gift being made. She knew Brenda would know she was making something, but her friend didn't need to know what she was making. Not at all. "It'll be nice to meet some of the people you care about. Brenda's fun, but she's 8 months pregnant, and she's feeling every extra pound. She needs to be talked to sweetly and have her hair stroked." Lacy was worried about her friend and the emotional roller coaster she'd been on since she'd lost her mother 7 months before. Colm raised an eyebrow. "Are we all supposed to stroke her hair during supper?" It would be an odd way to spend the evening as far as he was concerned. Did women really even like to have their hair stroked? Not at all. "She told me to feed her tacos and tell her she's pretty, so that's what I'm doing." She's been craving tacos since the day I met her. You only met her during her pregnancy then? He asked. Nope. I met her shortly after moving here. She was one of the maids at the hotel for a little while. Lacy couldn't help but remember the day Brenda had started at the hotel. She'd walked up to her and demanded to know where the best tacos in Reston were. They'd bonded over their mutual love of tacos and had been friends ever since. Colm looked confused, but before Lacy could explain, there was a knock at the door. Lacy hurried to open it, seeing Brenda and Grant standing there. Brenda had tears rolling down her cheeks. Did Grant say something rude? Lacy asked quickly as her friend walked inside. He didn't tell me I'm pretty. He thinks I look like an overinflated watermelon. Lacy hugged her friend, who had always been extremely emotional. It seemed to have been multiplied by 1,000 in the past few months, though. You look beautiful and pretty, and everything that is good and feminine in the world. Brenda sniffed and dashed her tears away. That helps. Now feed me tacos. Lacy laughed. Brenda, meet Colm. He's a guest at the ranch this week, and we've been exploring together. It was hard to know just how to explain Colm. Colm, this is my best friend Brenda, and her husband Grant. Brenda is expecting the most beautiful little boy in the history of the world, and it's making her a slight bit emotional. Brenda elbowed Lacy in the stomach. Handsome. Lacy looked at her friend. Handsome? Boys are handsome, not beautiful. Colm watched the two women together, feeling a bit bewildered. Lacy obviously really cared about this friend of hers. Shauna had seemed to think of other women as competition until she met Debbie. Then she thought of them in a very different way than he'd ever expected. You're right, of course. The baby will be handsome. Everything's ready. Are you hungry? Lacy guided her friend toward the table, hoping she'd be able to get her mind off her vacillating emotions. Brenda patted her baby bump. We're always hungry. Grant smiled. And pretty. Always pretty. The baby is handsome, dear. Did you forget again? Brenda shook her head. And don't try to butter me up. Too little too late, bucko. So sorry. I'll get it right one of these days, Grant said, sitting down as Brenda slid into a chair. I sure hope so, Brenda said, shaking her head at her husband, but Lacy could see the twinkle was back in Brenda's eye and all was right with her friend's world again. You're having a boy? Colm asked, trying to make conversation with the other man and what seemed to be an alien from outer space from the way she spoke. Brenda squealed. I love your accent. I'm sure Lacy is going absolutely insane over it. Say something else. Colm sat for a moment. I'm not sure what you want me to say. Am I allowed to rub your head and call you my favorite leprechaun? Brenda asked. Colm shook his head. No. Not at all. And if you mention Lucky Charms even once, I may need to hit your husband. Brenda nodded. I'll keep that in mind if I get mad at Grant anytime soon. See that you do. Lacy had all the food on the table and had served pop to the people she knew wanted it, but had just poured herself some water. So, are you excited about the baby shower? Lacy asked. Brenda groaned. I don't want any stupid games. The first person to try to wrap toilet paper around my tummy is going to get my fist in their mouth. Toilet paper feels like gold paper after the pandemic. I'll keep the games non-stupid then, Lacy said. Brenda wasn't usually high maintenance, but her pregnancy was making her crazy at this point. She'd planned to do the toilet paper game, so now she'd need to do some research on other games. Hosting a baby shower was turning into a lot more work than expected. Grant smiled and took Brenda's hand. It's not going to be much longer. Brenda sighed. I know. It just seems like forever since I've been able to sleep comfortably. I go crazy with no sleep. Don't we all? He asked. As Brenda ate the first bite of her taco, Lacy said, "Hey, Brenda? You're pretty." The smile the comment earned from her friend made Lacy feel as if she'd done something good. After supper, the four of them played a game of skip-bo. When Brenda won, she said it was good due to her status as a life giver. "Did you know that a cat who has babies is called a queen?" "I think I should be called a queen." Lacy nodded emphatically. "You are definitely a queen." "You're my queen," Grant said. "I'll call you queen." Colm agreed. Brenda raised her hands above her head in triumph. "That may be the best thing that's happened to me all week." Lacy grinned. "But you know that as soon as that little boy is born, he'll be the best thing to ever happen to you." Brenda nodded. "I know. It's just hard being so round." She hugged Lacy close. "Thanks for putting up with me through this." "Grant has to put up with me, but you could easily avoid me for a month or 6. I couldn't avoid my best friend." As the other couple left, Colm remained with Lacy. "She's something." Lacy laughed. "Her pregnancy has just been difficult for her. When it's all over with, she'll go back to being her sweet, normal self." They talked about the other couple for a few minutes before Colm hid a yawn behind his hand. "I'm heading back to the hotel for the night. I'll see you tomorrow?" "Of course." He kissed her softly. "Oh. You never told me about your tea with Jacqueline." "Not much to tell," Lacy said. "Nothing I didn't already know." He eyed her skeptically for a moment before nodding. "Okay, see you at lunch." "Are you taking lunch, or should I grab something?" "I'll take leftovers from tonight and turn them into nachos." "Would that work?" "Absolutely. I love your tacos." "You don't use those little packets, do you?" "Nope. It's all my own seasoning." After he was gone, she realized just how well the night had gone. Many men would have left early after getting frustrated with Brenda, but not Colm. Her man was rock solid. She was going to have to figure out how to keep him, even though he was leaving in just a few days. A thought occurred to her, and she went to her laptop and did a quick search on Mountain Home, learning about its small population and looking to see what businesses were there. Surely there was a job she could think about applying for. And then she found it. Royal River Ranch was converting into a destination ranch. She looked at the website for the ranch and learned all she could. A destination ranch needed someone to run the front desk, right? She promised herself she'd call in the morning. Even if things didn't work out between her and Colm, the ranch looked like a place she'd enjoy working. It was similar enough to what she was already doing, it would work out well for her. She hoped. After a long hot bath, she went to bed, her mind still on Mountain Home and extending her relationship with Colm, but as she drifted off to sleep, she decided not to talk to him about the possibility of her moving as well. At least not until she had secured the job. Perhaps there'd even be a cabin on the ranch for her to live in. Possibilities were all she was looking for, and there was definitely a possibility there. Maybe she would be able to follow Colm after a short time. She'd stay at least until Brenda had the baby, of course, but after that? There was nothing tying her to River's End Ranch other than the people she loved. And she loved them all. On her first break the following morning, she called Royal River Ranch. The woman who answered introduced herself as Ginny Royal. Lacy took a deep breath. "I know this call is kind of out of the blue, but I was wondering if you're hiring front desk help. I'm thinking about relocating to Mountain Home, but I'd have to have a job lined up first, and I currently work for a destination ranch." "Well, I've been thinking about that. I'm not sure if I'd need someone full-time." "I see. Why don't I give you my number, and you think about it?" "That's a wonderful idea." "You're not married, are you?" Lacy wasn't certain where that question came from. "No. I have 6 handsome nephews." Lacy laughed. I think I will soon be in a committed relationship. There's a man. Oh. There was a moment of silence and some odd sounds. Yes, you stay with Colm, dear. He's the one you need. I didn't mention his name. Lacy was certain she hadn't. Was this woman like Jacqueline that way? Oh, surely you did. You must have. Now about you giving me that name and number. Lacy shook her head. Maybe Jacqueline and Ginny used the same network of fairies. Who could tell? She rattled off her number and spelled her name for Ginny Royal, saying a silent prayer that she would get the job before returning to the front desk. No matter how badly she wanted to get the job at Royal River Ranch, she would continue to do her best by her current job. And hopefully soon, she'd move to a place where she could be near Colm permanently. But what if he didn't really want her to follow? She shook her head. No reason to borrow trouble. She'd think about it all when the time came. Chapter 7. By trivia on Thursday night, Lacy was already starting to feel a little bit panicky about Colm leaving. It didn't feel like he'd been there as long as he should have been, and she was certain he'd forget all about her once he was in his new home. The group of 4 sat together, and they nominated Karen to write the answers. The woman grinned, seeming happy to be part of it, while her mother sat glaring at her stonily. I told you I don't know anything about Harry Potter, the woman said for the 6th time since they'd sat down. Karen smiled. We have a few minutes before trivia starts. I can take you back to our room so you can rest. Virginia folded her arms across her chest. I'm not tired. You know I rarely sleep anyway. I don't know why you're trying to force me to take a nap. Do you think I'm an invalid? I just don't want you to be here if you don't want to be, Karen said, keeping her voice even. Lacy couldn't help but be impressed with how Karen was dealing with her mother. She was certain she'd have lost her mind by then. Trivia will be fun, Virginia. Why don't you order something to eat? We all eat and drink while we play. I'm not hungry. Virginia stared away from the table. It was strange to Lacy how the older woman looked like she was a petulant child. Very strange. All right. She wasn't going to spend her time arguing with Virginia when she only had a few days left with Colm. Colm smiled at Virginia. If you change your mind about either food or going back to your room, let me know, and I'll help you out. I don't need help, Virginia said. I can walk perfectly well. Karen is the one forcing me to use this stupid chair when I don't need it. Karen said nothing, but her face was turning slightly red, and Lacy could tell someone needed to get her mind off her mother. What do you do for a living, Karen? I'm a special education teacher. Oh, that must be challenging. Karen nodded. I work mostly with autistic children. I love those kids to bits, but it's hard work at times. Are you working in elementary or secondary? Lacy asked. Secondary. I'm teaching them job skills and the like. The fun thing with autism is that it's so different in every child. I love learning what's unique about each and playing up their skills to help them find how they can contribute. Are you on spring break then? It seemed late in the year for spring break to Lacy, but different schools had it at different times. Yes. We go back Monday. The tired look in Karen's eyes told Lacy she'd be happy to get back to her own life, away from her mother. The trivia started then, and they listened raptly to the first question. What is the symbol for Ravenclaw House? Isn't it a raven? Colm asked. Lacy shook her head. I think it's an eagle. Don't quote me on that though. It's definitely an eagle, Karen said. Virginia shook her head. All of this fuss about a children's book. Ignoring her mother, Karen wrote down their answer, and they looked toward the person asking the questions. Who is the ghost of Hufflepuff House? The questions went on like that, but between them, they always knew the answers. At the end, they had all 20 questions right, at least they were pretty sure they did. Then there was the bonus question. What is Bellatrix Lestrange's wand made from? In this answer, we're looking for the core and the wood used. Dragon heartstring? Lacy asked the others. This was the hardest question. Colm nodded. I think that's right. But what's the wood? Karen pursed her lips. Walnut maybe? Let's go with that, Lacy said. I'm sure no one really knows this one. In the end, the three of them had gotten every question correct. There was much celebration at their table while Virginia glared at them. Not that it bothered Lacy. She could tell the woman was just a prickly pear. After they'd finished eating, Karen smiled at Lacy. Thank you so much for inviting us. This is the most fun we've had since we got here. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wish I could think of some adventures you could go on together. Lacy frowned. Maybe I could play games with your mom, and you could go out exploring tomorrow. I could come right after my shift, which would be right at 5. Colm shook his head. No, Virginia and I are having a supper date tomorrow. You two go and have supper in town, or see a movie, or do both. Or something else entirely. Are you sure? Karen asked. She was obviously trying not to look excited at the prospect. I'd love to have a date with a beautiful woman like your mother. Virginia was glowing, her smile lighting up her face. Just don't get fresh. I'm a married woman, you know. I'll do my best to keep my hands to myself, Colm said solemnly. Movie? Lacy asked. I'm sure there's something we'd both enjoy. That would be wonderful. I'll see you at the front desk at 5. Karen quickly gave Colm her room number. Thank you both. As they walked away, Lacy said softly, Thank you for being willing to do that. Karen needs a break. You can see it written all over her face. I feel bad for her. I do too. Lacy sighed. I hope my parents never get that way. Dementia does some terrible things to a person. He walked her back to her cabin, and they talked along the way. I hate that you're leaving so soon, Lacy said softly. They'd both carefully avoided the topic of his leaving, but she had to let him know he would be missed. I hope you can come visit me soon. I take possession of my new home on Sunday and the pharmacy on Monday. It's going to be a crazy busy time for me. Just make sure to text on occasion. He lowered his voice to a whisper. Text messages work both ways. She laughed. Okay, I'll be sure to text you as well. We're going to have to make an effort if we want to keep in touch. He stopped walking and caught her arm in one hand. We do want to keep in touch. Don't doubt that. She nodded, wishing she didn't feel like crying at any second. She wasn't ready for him to go, and he was leaving early Sunday. 2 more days, and one would be spent with Karen and Virginia. I'll be here. Maybe you could come visit in a couple of weeks. I'm supposed to be there when Brenda gives birth. She'd never forgive me if I left town right before the baby was born, or while she was in labor. He sighed. When is she due? 3 more weeks. I guess we can plan something after the baby comes. Tell him to be on time, would you? They started walking again, passing by Jacqueline's yard. Jacqueline was outside in hot pink leopard print pajamas with fur around the cuffs. Lacy raised her hand in a wave, but Jacqueline flagged them over. Are you leaving this weekend, young man? Colm nodded. I have to be there on Sunday night. Well, have you proposed yet? Lacy wanted to disappear into the ground. Jacqueline had told her to be patient, but she wasn't being patient with Colm at all. What was going on with her? Colm shook his head. I think it's best if we take our time. He didn't seem nearly as flustered as Lacy felt. Probably, Jacqueline said. But don't take too long. There's a new crop of single men checking in around here every week. When they reached her cabin, he turned her toward him. Don't date any of the other men who check in, please. She laughed. I've never dated a guest before you. Why would I start now? 'Cause you realize how fun it can be, he said. We've had a whole barrel full of laughs. That's true, but I wouldn't expect to strike it lucky twice in a row. Nah, I'll not date other men. Just you. So, we're going to be exclusive? He asked. I'd like to be. Lacy hated to make him feel cornered, but she couldn't imagine dating anyone else, and that thought of him dating someone else, well, it would make her absolutely crazy. I'd like that too. She felt relief wash over her body like a warm shower. Sounds good. She stood on tiptoe and kissed him. He was a good foot taller than she was, and though she should feel dwarfed by him and a bit intimidated, she only felt protected. He wrapped his arms around her and pulled her close, deepening the kiss. This was the first time she'd initiated a kiss, and he couldn't be happier about it. When they finally broke apart, she hummed deeply in her throat. I could do that every day and never get enough. You're not the only one, he said. I guess we won't spend tomorrow evening together. What do you want to do Saturday? She asked. Maybe we could drive into the nearest city, and I could take you out for a nice lunch. You're still making me Irish stew for supper. What is the nearest city? The nearest of any size is Lewiston. There's a Michael's on the way. He chuckled. I guess we can stop at a craft store on our way there. I'll plan something. She threw her arms around him. You're the best. He hoped that someday she'd get as excited about him as she did her crafts. It probably wouldn't happen, but perhaps, if he was patient enough. Asterisk. They left for Lewiston around 10 in the morning on Saturday. The town was over an hour drive, and she wanted to stop at Michael's in Clarkston on the way there. What are you planning to find at Michael's? He asked as he navigated onto the highway. No clue. I just love to look, which is strange, because it's really the only kind of shopping I enjoy. So, you're shopping for nothing? It truly didn't make sense to Colm, but his opinion of her fun shouldn't matter. Oh, trust me. I'll have bags full by the time I leave that store. Are you going to come in or sit in the car like my dad does when he takes my mom to a hobby store? I haven't decided. I'll probably come in though. I won't be terribly excited about it, but at least we can spend a few extra minutes together. He didn't add that he was leaving early the following morning, but he didn't need to. It was on his mind, and he knew it was on hers. What time do you think you'll head out in the morning? Lacy couldn't ignore the elephant in the room. She wanted to know when he would be on his way to Montana. Knowing was always better than guessing. I thought about waiting until after church so I can spend a little more time with you, but it's just not practical. I'll probably leave by 7 at the latest. Why don't you come by in the morning around 6, and I'll make us breakfast? I'm just going to grab something on the road. I think it would be harder for both of us if I came by before leaving. You're right. It would. I still want to see you again. He took a deep breath. I need to say goodbye to you tonight. I don't think I can make the drive right after a tearful goodbye. And there would be tears. Even if she didn't cry them, he knew he would. Saying goodbye to her would be one of the hardest things he'd ever done. I guess you're right. She was quiet for a minute but then changed the subject. What do you have planned for us today? I found a restaurant online that seems promising. It's called the Mystic Cafe. There's live music and fabulous food. At least according to the reviews. Sounds good to me. And we're shopping for craft supplies. I can't wait. He laughed. You and your craft supplies. There's not a whole lot of room in my car, you know. She looked at the back, and just then noticed all the boxes. I can put stuff in. I'll just have to limit what I get. Thankfully, most of her craft shopping was done through Amazon. She wouldn't be able to fit much. I've got stuff crammed everywhere. If you don't want to carry your purchases on your lap. I'm short. I'll share my legroom. He chuckled. How tall are you anyway? She was awfully short. He had to have a good foot on her. I'm 5'2". That's not short. How tall are you? 6'3". So, you're just a tad bit overgrown. It's not your fault. He chuckled. And you're undergrown? No, my height is just perfect, Lacy insisted. The entire way to Clarkston, they talked about daily minutiae. Neither of them wanted to dwell on the fact he was leaving so soon. Neither of them really wanted to even think about that at the moment. At the store, he followed her inside, noting she got the big trolley and not a little basket. She went straight to a section in the middle of the store and started looking through rolls of vinyl. He looked as well. What do you do with these? He asked. What don't I do with these? I make t-shirts and tote bags and little signs. My imagination is my only limit. Maybe one of these days I should do one of those things for me. He chuckled. I wondered why there were no signs or anything at your house if you could make them so easily. I may make a welcome sign or something. Make one for me too. I need a housewarming gift from you. Good idea. Text me your new address, and I'll mail it when it's ready. He was glad she wasn't putting pressure on him to move their relationship along any quicker than it was going, but he didn't really understand why she wasn't. Most women would. By the time she was ready to check out, she had a trolley full of craft supplies. Some vinyl and a tiny little iron. What do you do with an iron that small? He asked. I use it for pressing heat transfer vinyl onto things. I also have a large heat press, but I can't use it for everything. I need to get one for mugs, but I haven't done that yet. Sounds like you're spending a lot on this craft of yours. She shrugged. I'll have to start being more careful so I can save up to do some traveling. I hear Montana is beautiful this time of year. Chapter 8. Lacy considered not going to church on Sunday to take some time to just be sad that Colm had left, but she decided to go and be around people. It would be better for her to not bury herself at home with her crafts. Being alone would only make things worse. At church, Bridget pulled her aside and asked about Colm. Where's that guy with the Irish accent you brought with you last week? I thought you two were becoming a thing. Lacy smiled. He was here for a week while he waited for his home to be ready for him. He was living in Lubbock, Texas, and he's moving to Mountain Home, Montana. And you didn't go with him because his wife died recently, and he's not ready for a commitment yet. He may never be. I don't believe that's true. What does Jacqueline say? To give him time. I hope it's not true. I don't want to be Jacqueline's age before I find love again. Having heard Jacqueline's story about losing the man she loved when she was young and not marrying until a few years back, Lacy was certain she didn't want to have to wait that long. She wanted children of her own. Bridget patted her shoulder. When are you going to see him? Am I that transparent? I'm waiting until Brenda has her baby, and then I'll make the trip. Sounds smart to me, Bridget said. We haven't seen Brenda for a couple of weeks. She's uncomfortable and ready to explode. Probably not the best time for her to be coming to church. She's also very hormonal. I'll have to go see her. I'm feeling the same way, and we can commiserate some. All right. That works for me. Good. I'll call her first, but you may want to warn her the pastor's wife is coming, and she expects to be entertained. Lacy laughed, knowing Bridget well enough to know she was joking. She never even thought of herself as a pastor's wife for the most part. She was just Bridget and expected everyone to treat her that way. She finished up Brenda's diaper bag that day, excited with how it turned out. She knew her friend would like it. When she sat down to eat dinner, alone for the first time in over a week, she almost immediately received a text message. "I'm eating fast food alone tonight. Missing you and your smile." Lacy had never really been one for taking selfies, but she picked up her phone and snapped a picture of herself, sending it in response. "Now you have my smile whenever you feel like you need to see it. Missing you as I eat my supper alone at my table." She stared at her phone for a moment. "How's the house?" "Empty. Furniture arrives on Tuesday evening, and I'll be unpacking for a good long while." "Won't that be fun? Are you excited to start work tomorrow?" "Mostly. A little nervous about having my own business, but I've seen the financial records of this place, and as long as the whole town doesn't start going to the grocery store for their meds, it should be fine. Will be interesting to see how things work out with the old employees. I'm sure I'll change some things. I hope it goes wonderfully for you." "I hope so too. I also hope to see you very soon." "Has Brenda had that baby yet?" Lacy laughed out loud at the question. "Not yet. Soon, I hope. Well, as soon as the shower is over. Maybe her water will break during her baby shower, and we can go straight to the hospital after. Then I could see you in 2 weeks. That would thrill me more than I could say. I can't believe how much I already miss you." "I miss you too, Colm." And she did. She'd known him less than 2 weeks, and her life already felt bereft without him. What was up with that? Asterisk. The shower went without a hitch. Other than the fact Brenda did not go into labor right after. "Were the games okay?" Lacy asked her friend. Brenda nodded. "Much better than I expected. The not saying baby thing was kind of fun." "You only say that because you won," Lacy said, shaking her head. "Brenda was very competitive." "Maybe." They'd held the shower at Brenda's, and Lacy had been there since early morning, helping her friend deep clean everything before the onslaught. "Now for my real gift," Lacy said. "Wait here. You got me a gift." Brenda called after her. "You cleaned my house." Lacy laughed, hurrying out to her car, and opening the passenger side door. She grabbed the gift bag she'd put the diaper bag in and carried it inside. "Here. But your gift was helping me clean, and throwing this shower, and 3 boxes of diapers." "Yup, and this." Brenda took the bag Lacy thrust into her hands. "I'm overwhelmed already." There were tears in her eyes as she set the bag down and opened it. "Oh, well. You made this?" Lacy nodded. "I've been working on it for a while. Colm was there as I cut it, and while I was sewing it, we binged an entire season of a show while I worked on it, and he played on his phone in the evenings. This is wonderful. I don't have words. No need for words. I'm just glad you like it so much. I was waiting until after today to choose a diaper bag. You even made one of the changing mats." "I'm pretty happy with it," Lacy said. "For my first diaper bag, at least. You should be happy even if it was your 500th. This thing is gorgeous." Brenda threw her arms around her friend. "Thank you. You're very welcome. Now, let's get all this stuff put away," Lacy said, gesturing to the baby paraphernalia that littered Brenda's living room. "I'm too tired," Brenda said. "I'll do it in the morning." "I'll do it now," Lacy said. "I'm assuming you want to wash all the baby clothes before you put them away?" Brenda nodded, sitting down. "I'll help, but give me a minute to rest first." "I got it. I'm running the clothes in your washer." Lacy sat down next to Brenda on the couch and handed her some of the clothes. "Help me get all the tags off." While they detagged the baby clothes, Brenda asked, "How are things with Colm? Are you going to see him again?" "I think so," Lacy said. "He wanted me to come out soon, but I told him I wouldn't go until after you had the baby." Brenda bit her lip. "I hate that you're making a sacrifice like that for me, but I really do need you there." Brenda's mother had died of cancer just days before Brenda realized she was pregnant. "I know you do." Lacy continued removing tags from the clothes. "And I'm happy to be there for you. I had this commitment well before I met Colm. I hope you told him you'll be there as soon as you can. You don't want him to think you're putting him off." "He doesn't. I told him exactly what's going on." Grant stuck his head in the front door. "Are the crazies gone yet?" Brenda laughed. "Yes, come see what Lacy made for us." He walked into the living room. "This is a lot of stuff." "Yup. Our boy is already loved." Brenda held up the diaper bag. "Check this out. Lacy made it." Grant took the bag and looked at it, opening each pocket and examining what was there. "This is amazing work. Why are you still working at the hotel again?" "Because I love my job. This is just a hobby." Lacy tore off the last tag. "I'm using your washer. Be right back." For a moment she wondered if Brenda and Grant would rather put everything away themselves, and then she remembered who she was talking about. Brenda would rather Grant didn't put anything away because he would do it wrong. She'd do it and listen to how Brenda wanted things done. When she went back into the living room, Brenda was showing Grant the gifts. "Can I take the bottles and wash them and put the wipes warmer and the diapers and wipes in the baby's room?" Brenda told Lacy where she wanted everything and Lacy carried it all away. Grant joined Lacy after a minute. "I should be doing that." Lacy shook her head. "You know as well as I do that if I do it, she'll be pleased. If you do it, she'll find fault with everything." "I got it." Grant grinned. "You know my wife so well. Comes with being besties. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to finish putting things away in here and then do a load of dishes for you. You don't have to do the cleanup too." "I promised Brenda when she found out she was expecting right after her mom died that I would do everything I could to take her mother's place helping her out, and that's what I'm going to do. Lots needs to be done, and I'm going to handle it all. I feel like we're taking advantage of you." "You're not. I made a promise and I mean to keep that promise to the very best of my ability." "All right. Let me know if there's a way I can help. You can keep your wife occupied while I get these things taken care of. I want everything to be just perfect when I leave so we're ready for baby." She took the cups out of the breast pump box and carried them into the kitchen, washing them along with the bottles that had been purchased. Hopefully Brenda wouldn't have to use either one, but from what Lacy understood, babies could be awfully persnickety about the way they took their milk. As soon as she'd finished washing the new things and loading the dishwasher with the trays she'd served goodies on for the party, she went to move the load of laundry from the washer to the dryer. Then she rejoined Brenda and Grant in the living room. "Okay, that's all done. I need to wait till the load of laundry is finished, and then I'll fold and put it away. What can I do in the meantime? Can I make supper?" Brenda blinked a couple of times and burst into tears. "I don't deserve a friend like you." Lacy laughed. "Of course you do. Any preference on food?" Grant nodded. "Make a huge pot of whatever kind of soup you want to make." Brenda's been craving soup for months, but hasn't felt up to making it very often. "Taco soup?" Lacy asked, grinning. "Just feed me tacos and tell me I'm pretty." Brenda half-sobbed. Happily. "You're the prettiest best friend I've got." Lacy disappeared back into the kitchen and dug through the cabinets and Brenda's freezer looking for what she could use to make soup. She found chicken, and decided to use that for the meat in the taco soup, and she started putting everything together quickly. It was boiling and just about ready when the dryer buzzed. "You guys go ahead and eat. I'm going to get the laundry put away, and then I'll leave you alone." "You have to eat with us," Brenda said. Lacy nodded. "If that's what you want, but the leftovers will last longer if I don't. I couldn't ask you not to eat with us. I'll head home after the laundry. You guys eat and keep the leftovers. I have something in my slow cooker at home." They waited until she'd finished putting the clothes away to eat, and Brenda smiled. "You're keeping your promise perfectly. Your mother was amazing." "I miss her too," Lacy said, heading for the door. "Call me when you're in labor. Or tomorrow. Whichever comes first." Lacy was happy to be heading home. She was tired, and she just wanted to sit down and rest for a bit. She probably wouldn't even craft. Right after she'd put her supper dishes in the dishwasher, her phone rang. Glancing at the screen, she smiled. "Hello there." Colm sighed. "It's so good to hear your voice. Why does it feel like years since I left you there?" "It feels the same way to me. I was hoping we could talk for real this weekend and not just text." "How's the store coming?" "It's been so much work. One of the employees quit on the first day because she didn't like that I was changing the filing system. It was ridiculous. I do like the people I work with, and all of the customers have been wearing real clothes when they came into the store, which was a pleasant surprise." Lacy laughed. "Good. Sounds like you made progress. Is your unpacking getting done?" "One box at a time. I keep telling myself that. My goal is 4 boxes per day. My bedroom is set up, so I can get dressed, but the kitchen still needs to be unpacked. I've been doing fast food for every meal, and there aren't exactly a lot of choices in Mountain Home." "You must be exhausted," she said. "I am." "How was the baby shower? Did Brenda like your gift?" "I wish you could have seen her face when she opened it. It made every stitch worth it. You know, I've decided to open up little craft booths in my store. If you want to sell some of your things, we could make that happen." "I'll think about it," she said, walking into her living room and settling onto her couch. "What are your big plans for tomorrow?" "I'm checking out the little church here in town. And I'm unpacking and sleeping. The pharmacy is open on Sundays, but I don't personally go in on Sundays unless absolutely necessary. I have 2 other pharmacists working with me." "That's good. I'm glad it's not just you. Did you work today?" "I did a half day today. I came home at noon and started unpacking again. I may have to tackle the kitchen tomorrow." She laughed. "It might be a good idea to have a working kitchen. You said you cook, right?" "I do. I enjoy cooking. I also enjoy sleeping. We'll see which I need more after church tomorrow." Lacy smiled. "I wish we could be together." "We will be. Just get that baby born, and then we can do whatever you want." "What would Brenda think of ziplining?" "I'm not suggesting a pregnant woman zipline." "No way. She'd probably lose her mind." "Nope, nope, nope." Colm laughed. "I guess I should keep my opinions to myself then." "That might be best." Chapter 9. 3 weeks later, they were still waiting on the baby to be born. Lacy felt as if she was talking to Colm less and less, though she knew it was mostly that they were both incredibly busy. It was just before noon on a Monday that Brenda called and said her doctor was admitting her and inducing labor. "Do you need me to come now, or can it wait till I'm done with work for the day?" "They're not planning to induce until around 4, so take your time." Brenda sounded tired, but a little excited at the same time. "Okay, I'll get there as quick as I can." As soon as she hung up with Brenda, Lacy made a call to the woman who covered the front desk on the weekends. It had been arranged that she would take over for a few days when it was time for the baby to be born. It was much harder for Grant to get off work than it was for Lacy. So Lacy planned to stay in the hospital with Brenda during the days and let Grant sleep there at night. They'd worked out their strategy months before. As soon as she left work that day, Lacy called Colm on her way to the hospital. He answered, sounding surprised. "Hey, sorry to catch you at work. Thought you'd want to know that I'm headed to the hospital. They're inducing Brenda." "About time," he said. "Does that mean I'll see you this weekend?" "It'll be next weekend. I need to make sure she's all settled and ready to take care of the baby on her own before I disappear for a couple of days." Lacy planned to drive down on Friday after work, spend all day on Saturday with Colm and leave early Sunday afternoon. It wouldn't be enough time for certain, but it would be better than nothing. "I'll make you a reservation at the Band B in Cauldron Valley. The place is supposed to be just amazing." His voice sounded even, but Lacy hoped she could detect just a hint of disappointment in it. "Sounds wonderful. Finally, we know when we'll see each other. Text me when the baby is here." "Will do." The call ended as she pulled into the parking lot of the hospital. Lacy wasn't sure if she was more excited to hold the baby or to see Colm. Either way, things were finally moving in the right direction. Grabbing her purse, she hurried into the hospital, grabbing a mask that was set out and heading for the maternity ward. It wasn't hard to find Brenda, and she hurried into the room. Grant wasn't there yet, and Brenda looked relieved to see her. "You made it." "Of course I did. I told you I would be here." "Have contractions started yet?" "Just small ones. I'm dilated as 0, so it's going to be a while," they said. "I have the next 2 days off work, so take your time. Bite your tongue. This baby will be here today." Lacy laughed. "I sure hope so." The next few hours were spent walking up and down the halls of the hospital, trying to get Brenda's labor to progress. Grant was there, but he looked like he was about to have a panic attack, so Lacy stayed by her friend's side the entire time. It was late when the doctor came to check on her again. "I think we're going to have to do a C-section. Your labor isn't progressing at all." Grant turned gray. "We're not ready for a C-section." The doctor smiled and patted his shoulder. "It's going to be all right." Brenda looked at Lacy. "I need you there." Lacy looked at the doctor. "Is she allowed to have 2 people in the room with her when the baby is born?" She wasn't about to take Grant's place beside his wife for the birth of their son. She didn't care what Brenda and Grant said. It was where he should be. She could wait in the room. "Only one person," Dr. Murray said. Brenda nodded. "I want Lacy." Lacy shook her head. "No matter what you think now, you want it to be Grant there with you. He can't miss the birth of your child." "But..." The doctor agreed with Lacy. "You really do want your husband there. I had a C-section as well, and I don't think I could have gotten through it without my husband there, holding my hand." Brenda frowned but looked at Grant. "Buck up." The next few minutes were a whirlwind of activity as Brenda was wheeled away and Grant got into a paper gown covering every part of him including his shoes. Lacy sat down in the visitor chair, thankful to have a quick break. She texted Colm. "They took Brenda in for a C-section. Labor isn't progressing." "Ugh. I suppose that means it's going to be another week before you can come." "Probably. I'm sorry. I keep trying to get there, but I promise to be here for all of this." "I understand. I hate it, but I understand. I'll change your reservation at the Band B to the following weekend. I'm hugging you in 16 days." Lacy smiled. She was glad he still wanted to see her. She'd been half afraid as soon as she was out of sight, he'd move on to someone else. It took much less time than she expected for Grant to come back to the room holding his newborn son. "Meet Jacob Samuel." Lacy got to her feet and rushed to his side, peering down at the baby. He's beautiful. How's Brenda? The doctor is stitching her up now. He said she'll be back within minutes. And where are you taking the baby? Just to the nursery, and then I'll be back here to wait with you. Lacy nodded, returning to her seat to text Colm. We have a healthy baby boy. Finally. Brenda was back a few minutes later, a slight smile on her lips. You look happy, Lacy said. Nerve blocker. I feel better than I've felt in months. Lacy grinned. Then I'm glad you got the block. The baby was brought in a few minutes later in a little glass bassinet. 8 pounds 2 ounces, the nurse said. Big baby for a little person. Glad I didn't have to push him out, Brenda said, smiling. But I'm so glad he's finally out and my body is mine again. The nurse chuckled. You're breastfeeding, right? Yes. Your body isn't going to be yours for a while yet, then. The nurse helped Brenda to get Jacob to latch, and when she left, Lacy said, I'm going to head home. I'll be back in the morning. Brenda frowned at her. You said you'd be here. I am here. But you and your husband need to bond with that baby. You made him. Now learn how to deal with him together. Lacy leaned down and kissed her friend's cheek. Your mom would be so proud. The entire way home, Lacy could think of nothing but the look on her friend's face when she'd come back into the room after having the baby. She looked positively euphoric. On her way to the hospital the following morning, Lacy's phone rang, and she used her hands-free to answer it. Hello? Is this Lacy? A vaguely familiar voice asked. It is. This is Ginny Royal, from Royal River Ranch. We talked a few weeks ago about the possibility of me needing a front desk girl at the ranch. Are you still thinking about moving here? I am. I'll be visiting there 2 weeks from Saturday. Come and see me then. I'll text you the details. I think we should talk, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be offered the job. It just feels right. Lacy smiled. She could do the interview while she was there, and possibility get a job to live near Colm. I'd love that. Maybe early Saturday? Let's say 9. Anyone here can tell you where the ranch is. With that, the call ended, and Lacy wanted to squeal with excitement. She wouldn't tell Colm just yet, though. She didn't want him to be scared off by the possibility of her getting a job there. Asterisk. 2 weeks later, Lacy packed her car on Thursday evening so she could leave as soon as she got off work for the week. She really wanted to get there as soon as she possibly could. As she left work on Friday, she called Colm. I'm on my way. I'll see you in the morning then. He knew she wouldn't be there early enough to see him, especially after working all day and then having to drive all evening. Can we make it lunchtime? She asked. I'm probably going to want to sleep late. Lacy wasn't sure why she didn't want to tell Colm about her job interview, but for some reason, she was certain saying something would be a bad idea. I suppose that will have to do. I was hoping to have breakfast with you. We'll have breakfast together on Sunday. One of us is going to have to take some time off so we don't feel like we're always strangers, barely seeing one another. I'll try, she said, excited that she may soon be telling him she was moving there. Drive safe. Lacy ended the call and turned up her favorite Sirius XM station. She would sing the entire way there, though she may not have a voice for her interview in the morning. Asterisk. Lacy was tired, but she was on time to meet Ginny Royal at the Royal River Ranch. Ginny was a middle-aged woman who struck Lacy as a bit absent-minded. It's so good to finally meet you, Lacy said with a smile. It's good to meet you as well. Sit down and tell me why you're qualified to run my front desk. The interview was over almost as soon as it began. The job is yours if you want it. We can't pay a lot to begin with, but you'll get free lodging here on the ranch. Ginny named a salary and Lacy did some quick calculations. She'd paid for her cabin at River's End Ranch, so she would actually be coming out a little ahead by taking a pay cut here. That would be fine with me. When do you want me to start? When can you start? Ginny asked. I'd need to give 2 weeks' notice. So a little over 2 weeks? That would be perfect. Maybe on that Wednesday. That should give you time to get moved onto the ranch. Lacy stood and shook hands with the woman, smiling. I'll be here. Driving back to Cauldron Valley, she made some quick preparations in her head, calling Wade on the way. Sorry to disturb you on your day off, she said. No problem. Is something wrong? No, I just want to let you know I'll be giving my 2 weeks' notice on Monday. Give you a couple of extra days to have feelers out for someone to take my place. Wade groaned. We're not ready for you to go, Lacy. I know. But go I must. All right. I'll get some ads out there. You'll need to meet with me Monday about who you think should be promoted, and we'll hire someone to start learning the front desk. I'll plan to do that. Thanks, Wade. I appreciate the heads up. As soon as she was back at the Band B, Lacy raced upstairs to change into casual clothes for her day with Colm. She had no idea what he had planned, but she couldn't wait to find out. She wanted to see his pharmacy and his house and the entire area really. She'd be living there in a couple of weeks after all. She had just come back down and was chatting with the proprietor, Misty. How do you like living here? Misty smiled, nodding. I've only been here a couple of years, but I've found the town very welcoming. Odd in some of its traditions, but welcoming. Odd in what way? All of the superstitions are wrong. They do this weird thing where they lick their fingers and raise them to the sky when a triplet is mentioned. They think 13 is lucky. Stuff like that. Very strange. Lacy glanced over her shoulder when she heard a car pull into the drive. That would be my date, she said. You'll have to tell me more later. I'm very interested. I'd be happy to. Misty smiled. Have fun with your date. He looks cute. Irish accent, Lacy said, hurrying toward the door. Makes me weak in the knees. It would me too. Lacy stepped outside just as Colm got out of the car. Hey you, she said softly. Hello, he said, reaching out and pulling her to him, kissing her long and passionately. I cannot begin to tell you how much I missed you. I missed you too. She wanted to tell him about the job offer, but she would wait for the perfect time. He was going to be excited. She hoped. He drove her back toward Mountain Home, taking her first to his pharmacy. This is my business, he said, his voice filled with pride. They got out and she went inside, walking around and eyeing the shelves that had different crafts, set aside from the medicines. I forgot to bring the craft stuff. I've got it in my car, but forgot to bring it with me today, I mean. That's all right. Give it to me before you go, and I can have one of my employees make a nice little display for you. He led her to the back and introduced her to the pharmacist working for him. Steve, this is Lacy. Lacy, this is Steve. He's kindly working my shift this weekend so I can devote all my time to you. Lacy smiled. I appreciate that. Steve nodded. Colm talks about you a lot. I'm glad you were finally able to make it. Me too. She liked the look of the store, even though it was smaller than she was used to a pharmacy being. Of course, she had rarely been to a pharmacy outside of the Chicago area when she went for her parents often. This place is great, she said as they headed back to the car. Is it what you hoped for? Colm nodded. It really is. It's hard to believe I've been able to make this happen. I'd dreamt of it for years. I'm glad it finally happened then. Now if only you lived here. She started to tell him then, It was the perfect opening. But she found she couldn't get the words out. No, she'd tell him later. After seeing his house. Chapter 10. Colm was excited to show Lacy his house, hoping that someday she'd be living in it with him. He just had to be sure of himself and her before he could take that step. As soon as she stepped inside the two-story house on the side of a tall hill, she knew she was home. This was exactly where she wanted to be. There were changes she would want to make in some of the decorating choices. The entire laundry room was decorated in orange wallpaper, looking like something rejected by the 70s. That should definitely change, but the rest? It was a place she could see herself living. Her dad would say the house had good bones. He'd made lunch for them, knowing she didn't enjoy eating out as much as he did. The kitchen isn't completely unpacked yet, but it's good enough that I made you a shepherd's pie. It's my mum's recipe. Her first bite surprised her. This is amazing. Mine never tastes this good. The secret's in the sauce, he said, digging into his own meal. Are you going to share the secret with me? Maybe someday, he said, winking at her. As they ate, he talked about plans for the house, which thankfully included changing that laundry room. After they ate, they sat on his back deck, which overlooked the town. There was a porch swing there that was like something out of her fantasies. It's so peaceful here, she said softly. I love it here. I'm glad I bought the pharmacy, and I'm glad I bought this house. But I'm even happier that you're here now to share it all with me. He smiled. I hope you'll visit again soon. I hope I can. She didn't know why she wasn't telling him about the job, but it just didn't feel right yet, so they held her tongue. His arm came around her shoulders, and he pulled her closer to his side. He already felt closer to her than he ever had to Shauna. Of course, Shauna hadn't been interested in men, which he'd found out way too late. Would Shauna have liked this house? She asked, her mind going to his first wife, though she didn't know why. She may have liked the house, but she wouldn't have liked living in it with me. I don't know what her problem was. I mean, I haven't lived with you, and my mother always says you don't really know a person until you live with them, but something just seems off there. He took a deep breath, deciding it was time to tell her the truth. Shauna was in love with someone else. Lacy's heart hurt for him. There was another man? Actually, no. There was another woman. I'd known about her for a couple of weeks before Shauna went out with her after work one evening. They drank, went back to Debbie's place, and drank a little more. And Shauna wrapped herself around a tree, driving intoxicated. Seriously? It was hard for her to believe a woman could choose anyone over him. He shook his head. She said it was my fault for not fulfilling her as well as Debbie could. I'm sorry she treated you that way. She sounds like someone who would have been impossible to live with. And yet I managed for 10 years. You don't think less of me? He asked. How could I? I would never think less of you for someone else's actions. I've been afraid to tell you. There was no reason to be afraid. She sighed. I'm glad she's not in your life anymore. Me as well. They sat in silence for a while, just swinging gently back and forth. I really like it here, she said softly. I do too. She wanted to tell him she loved him, but the words stuck in her throat. It was too soon. She knew it was. But it didn't change how she felt. Not one iota. Asterisk. The hardest part about leaving Rivers End Ranch and Riston, Idaho, was having to tell Brenda she was moving away. But I just had Jacob. Who's going to blow on his feet and tell him he's handsome? I think that's going to have to be you. I'll only be a 6-hour drive from here. I can come back and visit. And you can come see me. Is Colm excited about you moving there? Brenda asked, her voice laced with sadness. Would you believe I haven't told him yet? The time just never felt right. He doesn't know? Brenda shook her head. You two have to start communicating better. We'll get there. Lacy sighed and got to her feet. Thanks for letting me come see you and the baby. Now I need to go home and start packing. I'm glad I have no furniture, because this move is going to be hard enough as it is. You have no idea how much I'm going to miss you, Brenda said softly. I do. Because I'll miss you just as much. But we're going to talk whenever we want. It's not like we can't stay in touch. I guess. Asterisk. Lacy left the ranch on Saturday morning after working out her notice. She was excited to go. Will Weston had offered to take a load of her things in his pickup, saying he had some cousins he'd love to see in and around Cauldron Valley. He took his wife Ellie, and they left their kids and dog behind with his parents. The Westons had left the night before, leaving Lacy to come at her leisure. They'd help her unload her things and spend time visiting family and being alone with no kids. She cranked the music up, excited to finally be there. She'd have to find a way to tell Colm that day. He didn't even know she was coming. They'd talked every day for the past 2 weeks, but never once had she mentioned moving to Royal River Ranch. She had no idea what her problem was. Instead of driving straight to the ranch, she went to the pharmacy where she knew he was spending the entire day working. She couldn't let him find out she was living there through the grapevine. She had to be the one to tell him herself. The pharmacy was busy, and she stood in line until he spotted her. He came around the corner and hugged her. What are you doing here? Did I forget you were coming? She shook her head. I see you're busy. Can you take 5 minutes? He nodded, calling to his pharmacy tech. I'll be back in a few. Then he led her out the back door and into the small parking lot. What's going on? I should have told you 2 weeks ago, but for some reason, the words just didn't want to come out. There were so many opportunities. You met someone else, and you came to tell me in person. Jacqueline warned me. Lacy shook her head emphatically. Not at all. I've taken a job at Royal River Ranch, doing the same thing I was doing at River's End. What? Are you serious? The look of dread on his face had transformed into a look of hope. You're moving away from a job you love to a new town, just to be near me? She blushed. When you put it that way, I feel kind of dumb about it. Don't. I have to get back in there, but can you meet me here at 5? I'll take you out for supper, and I want to show you something. Okay? She nodded. Sounds good. Just don't make fun of me for dropping everything and moving here. I wouldn't. I couldn't. He kissed her, then hurried back into the building, and she walked around to the front and got into her car. She was glad he knew, but she still felt a little silly about it all. It didn't matter though. She was there, and it was time to move into her new home. Asterisk. When Lacy met Colm at the pharmacy a few hours later, she was more nervous than she'd been the first time they'd gone out. She had no idea what he wanted to show her, but she hoped it was something good. Maybe he had a new pair of shoes. When the thought crossed her mind, she giggled. Why would he show her a new pair of shoes? He came out and got into her car, giving her directions to a small steakhouse there in town. Did you get settled in? He asked. She nodded. Mostly. I mean, I have boxes to unpack, but I'll get there. I think. I hope. You will. I'm surprised you could fit all your craft supplies in your car, he said, teasing her. Oh, well, Weston drove out with most of my craft stuff. I just had my clothes in my car. He laughed at that. Doesn't surprise me one bit. And this will had better be a married man. Of course. He's one of the siblings who run the ranch. She parked where he indicated, and they walked into the restaurant together, getting a booth in the back corner. You said you wanted to show me something, she said, nervous about what it could be. I think I haven't been able to think about much other than you since the day we met. After you were here 2 weeks ago, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. So, even though I was still really nervous, I went and got this. He was still wearing his white pharmacist coat, and he pulled a box from one of the pockets, putting it on the table. Lacy stared at the box, which had the name of a national jeweler emblazoned on it. He flipped the box open. I'd have carried this around for a good long time if you hadn't moved here. Somehow you changing your life for me gives me the confidence I need to ask you. Will you marry me? She blinked a few times, tears swimming in her eyes. Yes, I will. His face was transformed by a huge smile. I love you, Lacy. I wasn't sure it was smart of me to love again, but you've shown me that we all get a second chance if we just wait for it. I love you too. I wasn't sure if you'd ever be able to love again. I don't know if I ever really loved to begin with the first time. It was the intense emotions that come with the idea of love the first time. This time, this is real. When? She asked. He shrugged. I'll let you decide that. Soon, I hope. I don't want to wait too long. My house is lonely. It wasn't until I saw you in it, and then everywhere I looked, I remembered you standing there. Soon, she agreed. We'll marry soon. He frowned. I just realized Jacqueline was right. I guess we have to tell her. Lacy shrugged. Being Jacqueline, I'm sure she already knows. Besides, if we tell her, it'll just go to her head. He laughed. I do like the way you think, Lacy. I love you, Colm.